You are now listening to Carlie's Couch.
I'm Carlie.
And I'm Lex.
In this podcast, we discuss a wide array of topics about life and how to live your best life.
Whatever that looks like for you.
Hope y'all enjoy. Hello, hello, hello.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining us this week. We have another good episode for you.
Another amazing episode. What are we talking about this week, Lex? Pause. We are doing our mid-year check-in.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Yes, it is mid-year check-in time. I don't start talking about what we're talking about today.
You're right. So should I recap?
No.
Okay.
But, okay. So, how are you doing, Carlie?
I'm doing wonderful. I'm also excited that we got a new review that I want to read. So I'm going to read that. Then we'll get started with the episode. So must subscribe. 5 stars, of course. 2 dope, beautiful queens who cover a wide range of topics to help people grow personally and professionally. They throw some jokes and smiles in there, so it's not always serious. Definitely recommend this podcast.
Yay, thank you, Eli Manning.
Yeah, shout out to you, Eli Manning. We appreciate you. If you haven't, please leave us a 5-star review. And if you feel so inclined, type some things in there, let people know why you're listening. And please don't forget to share it with people who you think it might be helpful for.
Yes, please. It is July, guys. 2020 is moving. A lot of things have been happening this year. And so, we want to take some time to just check in. Time can fly by and slip by if you're not being intentional with it. And so, we want to use this time to think about where we are, what we've gotten done, how we've had to pivot, and just kind of get into, ways we can make it a successful rest of the year.
Absolutely. So when thinking about this, where are you with your goals? Do you remember any of the goals that you set at the beginning of the year?
Yeah, so I put them in my planner. And so for me, at the beginning of the year, my 3 months and 1 year goals, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them kind of complete.
Ooh. Okay, 5.
Yeah, a lot of mine were around agency development, which I've done arts with some of the visuals and directing things I've been doing, some Carlie's Couch stuff, productization, etc. So I've done a pretty good job of getting things moving, especially with my 3-month stuff I've gotten done. And then with the stuff for a year, I've gotten a few of them done already too.
That's awesome. I'm looking at mine, and y'all know I struggle with writing down these things. But one of the first ones I noticed was buy own equipment for Carlie's Couch. And I'm super excited because if you've noticed, we have new equipment. So shout out to that. I paid off a credit card. Look at God. And that was one of my goals, to pay off all of them. But one of them is paid off. There's a couple in here that, getting healthier, my own personal things that I see a lot of growth in. So that's exciting to check in because I actually haven't been checking back on these like I probably should have. And so it's cool to see them actually, connecting and being done.
With the planner, it allows you to put these in the front so that you can track them through the months as you're going along. So do you track that part of it?
I do the monthly review. So there's a review at every month and I check in with those and check in with myself and ways to grow and ways that I can be better. But I have not actually re-looked at my beginning of the year goals.
Yeah, because the time goes by so fast.
Absolutely. So do you feel like you're in line with what you set out to do at the beginning of the year?
I do because it was some things that I'd already started last year. So I feel like I knew where I was going with it, and it was just continued movement in that direction. But of course, we've had a few different things that have thrown, the course off this year. A few really influential people that have passed away. We've had with COVID, pandemic, clearly everything changing completely.
Absolutely.
None of the things that I had set as goals necessarily are directly tied to those things, though, and so. Well, or I guess they could be with my work, but because of the way that my work is set up, there's still opportunity that I've been able to find through that, thankfully. So, there has been a lot of pivoting, of course. Each month literally has pivoted from what I thought it was going to be. But when you look back at the full goals, we're still kind of in line with, moving towards the right direction.
Yeah, I would say the same thing when thinking about where I thought I was going to be at the beginning of the year. The pandemic kind of blew all that shit up. But it's not a bad thing because even though it looks very different than what I imagined, I'm still in line with my original goals of like, personal growth and growing Carlie's Couch and growing my business and following through. Like I've been in line with all of those things in spite of the pandemic. And so I think that it's really dope to think about those things and think about how differently things have been accomplished than I thought they would.
So minus the goals that you had written down, then how would you describe like the first half of this year for you?
Clusterfuck is the first word to come to mind because I just had no idea where things were going to go. In March, I was just coming back from the Fire in Little Africa conference in Oklahoma whenever the whole world kind of shut down. And then I had like a relationship end and all of these things changed. The gym shut down, all of my like consulting clients kind of shut down. So everything that I thought that I was doing and was building and was working on kind of was like, nah, now is not the time. And I was like, okay, God, like, what do you have for me? And so many other doors open, but they're all still in alignment with my overarching goals.
Doors like what?
Doors like working with the American Heart Association for fitness. So they reached out to teach fitness classes during the pandemic, during their Move More initiative in April. And then I also pitched some mindfulness things to them. And so I ended up teaching some mindfulness videos for them. Our summer camp that I do with one of the nonprofits I work with, Change the Tune, we've been doing a summer, like a leadership development, business development summer camp for the past 2 years in person on campus at USC. Obviously, there's a pandemic, so that doesn't work. So we've been pivoting, like you said, for doing the same things, but in different ways and trying to expand the way that we can reach people. And so we actually launched a virtual summer camp, which I've never thought of. And it's amazing that these kids come to a virtual summer camp and stay, like middle schoolers and high schoolers, for over 4 hours a day. Like I am amazed every day. They're like, what's your glow? That people stayed. And so that's amazing for me. What about you? Like I know there's a lot of creation, a lot of growth. Like how has that changed with the pandemic?
Specifically with the pandemic, it hasn't changed much outside of just having to slow down a little bit and stay minimalist with the projects that we're doing. But through the course of the year, it has been the same movement forward with the development of, organizing the agency and clearing up everybody's roles and bringing in people and developing out the strategy for our own internal marketing and things of that nature. And so all of those things are just people on their laptops. And so this year has really been a lot of moving forward with that and gratefully picking up a few clients that also, like with things changing that we can't control, they're still doing really well. And, getting the opportunity to really learn, even working with them. So it's always like a lot of learning. And lately it's been a lot more kind of not putting on more hats, but different hats. And, now kind of midway through the year, I'm really feeling like I can relax a little bit more or like, I don't have to do stuff every day as much. And so it feels good to see like the machine coming together and working well. And that's been one of my biggest goals lately, I think.
I feel like you've been working towards this like for a while, like building systems and doing things. So it sounds like it's in alignment with the things you've already been working towards anyways.
Yeah. And so, there's some new things that I've been learning and new spaces that I am moving into because I had to kind of decide like, all right, and what do I want to move in this direction or not? And then once I have, it's just been like the big experience of, uncovering that, exploring that and understanding like what that entails so I can like actually be successful in this space that I want to be in and which means doing things differently. So for me, it's been a year of doing things differently overall. I think even in my personal life, just trying to respond to things differently, respond to people differently, kind of making myself open up more about certain things instead of not, saying something in a situation or with work instead of trying to do something like, doing something differently, giving it to somebody else or telling them, more time that it would take to do it or whatever else. So I think in all these spaces, I've been doing things differently. And that's one thing I noticed about this year.
That's really cool. Did anything inspire you to move differently or act differently in all of these different spaces?
I think that's too broad to answer that way. I think if it's just one of those like different results mean you have to do things differently. And so that's just kind of what happened.
Okay. And I like that you brought that up because I feel like we all started 2020 like, yeah, it's going to be our year. 2020 is this thing. And now.
And it has been.
And it has been.
For me, I can say that. Everybody can't say that though. And that's understandable.
Yeah.
But I haven't really missed a step at all. I'm not going to lie to you.
And actually, one of my really good friends, Whitey, I was in Oklahoma with her at this conference. And I remember her in the van saying like, man, 2020 has been such a great year for me. And everybody in the van turned and looked at her like, what are you talking about? This year has been trash. This was in March, like right before the pandemic really, really hit. And she was like, yeah, it's just been good. And we're like, shit, well, we claim that for ourselves. And the pandemic has been great for me. And I say that not and I say that understanding that has been catastrophic for a lot of people and for, hurtful and all of those things. Like I say that, but for personally, like, it's opened up a lot of doors for me that I think were probably going to open up anyways, but it kind of expedited the process and gave me opportunities that, just weren't available or didn't even exist. Like, online training with certain people, like that wasn't even a thing before the pandemic. And so I'm grateful for the doors that it opened, and I'm grateful that I was doing the work beforehand so that I was ready whenever those opportunities presented themselves. But I think we're in a really unique space because not in our lifetime has everything shut down before and changed so drastically. And so I know a lot of friends that have lost their job, have been furloughed, are switching industries, are now launching businesses, are kind of moving into this new space. And so turning our, mid-year check-in kind of into like checking in and seeing where you are with your goals, but also kind of talking about new possibilities and new areas and territories and arenas that we might not have been in before, whether it be relationships or business or new roles and experiences. And so thinking about what that can look like. And so,
sorry, I didn't know if you were done or if that was my time to come up with the next.
That was your time, but I got you.
Segue, but I wasn't ready for the segue. My bad.
It's cool. See, I was so smooth.
It wasn't though, because you just ended the sentence, and now I had to think of where to go next.
Still in my head, I was smooth.
But where I would take that though, Carlie, is that it sounds like because things were forced to change. Now there's these different options of what you could do. And, you may be seeing some new opportunities and new directions that you can go that you weren't really thinking about before. And yet, because you have this space and this time, because you're not doing all the same things you were before, you're kind of forced into this new space, kind of, or not forced, but, it's like, all right, I might as well go into this space. And so what does that look like then to, push yourself into a new experiences and like new ways of making money, new ways to spend your time and all of that. What does that feel like? Was that exciting? Was it scary?
It was, I kind of was emotionless at the beginning. I know that sounds weird because I have all the emotions. And if you're new to the podcast, I have all of the emotions that you can imagine. But I think I was just so much in a space of like, wow, this is interesting because everything literally changed overnight. Like the gym shut down, all of my opportunities that I was like, oh, I'm insulated because I do consulting. Nope, bitch, all that shit shut down. So it's like, how do you, show up in this space where you have to show up for yourself, but how, and when you don't even know what's happening? And so for me, I was emotionless, but I think it was like a delayed reaction. I cried a little bit, grieved, but also was very excited and curious about how I was going to make it happen because, if that's one thing that I know about myself is I'm always going to make it happen regardless or, be open to opportunities. And so one of my first lines of thinking is, when everything forces you to change, when the universe literally shuts down, like how can you stay open to new energy and new opportunities and for pivots? Like if your heart is set on this certain thing, like how can you keep yourself open for pivots and for changes in your life? And so that's kind of what I wanted to address first. And like when things change, like how can you stay open? It's like, yeah, you're still focused on your overarching goals. You're still dedicated to everything happening, but how can you stay open to things?
Yeah, I think staying open is something that you do the whole time. And so not just because something happens, but now when things do happen, it's a more quick kind of pivot in your mind. But even without things happening, because, you just staying open to new opportunities doesn't mean, oh, we're expecting something bad to happen and we have to change. It could also be being prepped and open to new opportunities means your eyes are open for when something does spark in you, you actually want to explore it, or you actually are like, let me look into that a little bit, and not just close yourself off like, oh, I can't do that, or I shouldn't do that, or, for whatever reason. And so I don't think it's necessarily like a pandemic specific conversation. But in general, it's good to stay open to these new experiences. I think because they're the opportunities, like they usually kind of push you to grow. So if you're in a space with work or, let's just keep it like a space with work, for example, and somebody's brought like a new opportunity to you and project to you, or if you had an idea like, this would be good, and you kind of thinking like, oh, should I do this or not? It's why not? Like those things, it's like, if you're sparked a little bit, it's like, well, why not kind of be able to, move in that space and explore it a little bit, and figure it out, even though you may not know anything about it. That's the thing. I think when you're staying open, you are staying true to what's at your core, what you care about, and what makes sense for you. And because you're clear on that, these new opportunities, you can very quickly vet them, I think.
Yeah.
So the first thing I would say that's important is just overall, like having a relaxed plans. Don't be too rigid in the way things are accomplished. So you know what you are aiming for as far as your goals and what you're looking for. Hopefully you do. And if not, at least kind of direction of what you want to feel. And now when things are presented to you, I kind of think about it now more so about like, how does this feel right now? Or how does this feel for me? And that lets me know like if that's something I should explore or not, more than like, can I do it or do I have the resources to do it?
Yeah, I like that a lot. Just kind of being open, which sounds a little bit redundant, but being open to whatever shows up. Another one for me, a big important piece is listening. I feel so often we're so focused on goals and so focused on solutions and things that we don't really listen to things. And so it's like listening when someone has a new opportunity. It's like, nah, that doesn't sound like what I think it, like where I'm working at or what I want to be. It's like, nah, just take a moment to hear things out and hear what people have to say and see what maybe you can learn or garner from a situation, even if it doesn't seem like exactly what you were thinking it would be.
But are we talking about looking for opportunities when you're looking for them and you need something or you want to do something, or is this like a surprise? Like if things pop up on you that...
I mean, I would say both. Because if I think I have to be X, Y, Z and someone comes up to me with a great opportunity, yet they're not, like, I don't really hear them out because it might not be a job title that I think I need, or it doesn't sound like it's there. But if you listen, you might hear pieces of your overarching like goals or things that you're really working towards that you could get towards that, even if it's not exactly what you think it might should be.
I think one thing that's a key to being open to new opportunities is being ready to work. I think a lot of times we get scared when we get a new opportunity, or if somebody maybe emails you with something, hey, what about this? And it could be a big opportunity, but because you're like, I don't know what that means. Like, I'm gonna have to research things I don't really know. I'll have to do things to get to that or to make that work. We don't really do it, and so being ready to work and put the effort in, and the research in, and the movement in is very important to getting these new opportunities. And again, that's good because it's like it's bringing up new skills out of you. So I think that, when it's an opportunity or something that you enjoy or want to do, that of course you would take that. So as an example, so like some of the things we've been saying. So like for me, I would say, in the way we're building like the agency, for example, like a lot of it is new, and I'm having to do a lot of extra internal work where it's like most of my time now is spent working internally, and it's not like client billable hours anymore. And so it's like, I have to do all this extra work beneath the surface of what we're already doing in order to like really propel things in a different way. And so you have to be dedicated to that. And so, with these new opportunities, if you really want it, like you'll know, but you got to be ready to go in on it.
Absolutely. I love that. And another one is being mindful. So being present with whatever situation is existing and understanding that, like, again, it might not be exactly what you think it is, but that there's always something to learn in different situations and in trying new things. And then seeing how things fit. So that's being mindful of your goals, of your morals, values, like the things that are really important to you, but also understanding that sometimes there's a convoluted path to get to where you want to be. It's not always a straight shot. And so just being open to that.
Yeah, not being married to like the certain way things happen, because it just never happens that way. And like we want so much control, and that's understandable, I think.
Yeah.
But maybe that's the biggest thing to being open is like just not it's weird. It's like you just can't need anything to happen any kind of way. But man, that seems so like counterintuitive. But it is a much more peaceful experience when you can like brush things off more. Like I feel like everybody kind of can feel that, like, you know, when certain things don't matter anymore, man, you be feeling so free. And a lot of times it's like with whatever is kind of scaring you about a new opportunity or moving forward with something, it's just like, you know, just like, why not? Like, what would happen? You know, like what could happen that could be so awesome? Like, if I move forward with this, and you kind of have to just have that faith to do it. So I think another thing is just like really challenging yourself, because a lot of times it's a fear thing that may keep you from getting out of your usual routine and what you know and what you want to do. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that either. Like having your routine, doing what you do, because what you do might be what you love. And like, I guess like even with us, you know, we're always kind of talking about getting to a certain place or working towards certain things. But then it's like, all right, what happens when you get there? It's always an ongoing path, ongoing things that are happening. And so there's always something new. And so it's really embracing it and challenging yourself to embrace like all of these things that come at you, like I can take this on, and like, you know, just really hitting it head on.
I love that. And I love that you keep saying, why not? Like, why not this thing? Like, why not trying this and being open to seeing what is? I think a really important piece is being curious. Like, I think little kids are so curious about everything. They ask questions. They want to learn. They want to grow. Whenever we get grown, we feel like, nah, we need to control the situation. We know these things. Like, and the kind of curiosity dies out. And curiosity is so important in growth. And even situations like with relationships and work and friendships and everything, just if you approach situations with curiosity, it can completely change your perspective on things, as opposed to feeling like, well, they did this because of this, instead of, well, why did they do this? Why would someone think about this like this? And it can completely change your perspective. And in times that are so uncertain, especially in these, like, I think you should always be curious, but especially in times like these, like, how can I grow? How can I change? How can this be different? How could this help me, you know, get to that next level? And being scrappy and being curious, I think it's super important to be successful.
Yeah, because you're always having to learn. Like to do anything new or to do anything differently requires vulnerability, because you have to know, like, I don't know, you know, what this world is. This is a new territory. And so to explore like a new space, a new territory that you want to grow into, maybe that's what kind of keeps us from success, is because we don't know, right? And that's that first hump where once you start to learn things, it's like, oh, okay. Like, and then that becomes the regular, and then it's always something new. So it's like, to know that you're going into a new space is almost a signifier that like, I'm actually growing and like moving to a better place. Like, you know, things shouldn't always feel like you're the man and you're the master of everything you do, because now, like, how are you, you know, getting any growth out of that? And so for me, I've come to like love that feeling of like, man, like what is happening right now? And like, I feel like that every day, like, man, what's happening right now? I don't even know how to do this right now. And not like in general, but like with like certain tasks or certain, you know, just new challenges of like, you know, how do you manage all these projects? Like, you know, I haven't had this many people before, and reaching out to do the research and do the work with your networks. So again, I started this rant out by saying being vulnerable, because it's scary because you don't know what to do. And being willing to face new spaces, a lot of times it's beneficial to reach out to people and talk to people. Like, how do you do this? How do y'all do this over there? And lately I've been really like re-networking with even just like my regular kind of friends, but like specifically hitting them like, hey, I know you work at this kind of place. How do y'all manage y'all's projects? Or what does y'all's teams look like? What kind of programs do y'all use? And it makes so much more sense to not reinvent the wheel. Like, a lot of these things might be new territory for you, but the information is right there. If you're willing to like let people in and learn and not act like you know everything. So the big key in making this better is just like get you a tribe around you. And so I feel very fortunate that with a lot of the questions I've had, I've been able to reach out to people and straight up get consulting from people and get some coaching from other folks to learn how to do things more efficiently and move smoother and get better in this new space, so that then we can level up to the next new space. So it's just continually like that learning experience.
It really is. Life is a lifelong learning process. And I think it's so dope. I've been presented with a lot of opportunities I haven't even considered or didn't think would even be a thing that I would be doing. And so, it's uncharted territories. It's exciting because it's like, man, like I want to learn how to do this. But like Alexia was saying, that it's so important to know that you don't know everything. And I've been asking hella questions. I've been calling people, hey, how you doing? I know you do this. What the hell is this? Or how do I think about this? Or
real.
It's so real. Or what should I consider? And I think that it speaks volumes of my network, like through her friends, because some of them are her friends, and like people that I've just met or know, like, being vulnerable enough to reach out to them, but also, them being willing just to share their knowledge with me, and me being willing, like, yeah, like I want to bring you on the team. I can pay you, but I really need your help because I don't know what I'm doing.
But that also, when you reach out to people to hear from them and learn about from their space what you can do to incorporate in your own whatever it is you're doing, you're also really showing people your dedication to it as well, and kind of opening them up to now they feel like, okay, I want to help you. I want to help you put in positions. And so it's good because I feel like a lot of times we don't talk enough about where we are, what we're working on anywhere, or like what issues we're facing, what we're trying to grow into, whatever. And so even just having those conversations is beneficial because, people are usually happy to like talk to you, want to help you, and feel like, they're giving you something that you can use. And also now they know like, oh, okay, like they might run into something where they put you in a position or give you something additional as well. And so it's just beneficial to just talk more about the things you're dealing with because other people are in the same spaces and they can really like help you. I feel like it's so weird how we want to be on our own islands. And I say that as somebody who's always on my own island, but like, like it's always better. Like every time I have a good week of just lots of meetings or lots of just like collaboration type stuff, it always feels better because it's not just you doing things, but, just everybody contributing to this moving forward as well, and other people kind of giving, receiving as well. And so it kind of feeds this bigger ecosystem. And so it's so important to connect with people.
It is, I would say, integral to success is that network.
Yeah.
Like we're not islands, like peninsulas maybe, no, Andre.
Yeah, we try to do everything to get to this point to where everybody comes to us, and it's like, no, go to people. Go to people. And then you like build this ecosystem around you, people who really know what you're working on, know what you're doing. And then you don't have to wait for this big moment that will come and go because nobody was a part of that process.
Yeah. And what I'll say is like reaching out to people, part of me was nervous because I'm like, well, I don't know if this is weird, but I reached out anyways, and they were so honored that I, respected their craft so much and thought of them so highly to include me on a project that it just was very special to like learn from them and be like, I actually have no idea what the fuck I'm doing, but I really need your help. And they were really excited to share the things that they have been, crafting their life on. And that kind of alleviates our need to be like the expert on everything. Like you don't have to know how to do everything. And that's why we have teams, and that's why we have friends and people who work in different arenas and areas and territories and industries and whatever that they're doing. Like that's why you build your network up and build actual relationships with people so that you can, ask them questions and learn and grow from each other and also pour into each other, whether it be money wise, opportunity wise, or friend wise.
So how do you see yourself moving forward with the new opportunities that you've taken on recently or this year, through the rest of the year? And like some of these lessons you've learned, in taking on new territory, moving in different directions than you maybe thought you would this year. What does that kind of look like now for you moving forward?
It's cool because I never thought I would be here. So it's an adventure. It's like, oh man, I get to craft this thing that I never knew existed, but I get to design it. So I'm like an inventor and I'm this person, but it's not just me. When I say it's like me and my team, and I'm going to be reaching out to Lex for some stuff too. But it's like, it's so cool that the first thing I thought of was, man, I actually know all these people in my real life to reach out to them and call them. And so it's like amazing that I can connect with people in my real life to build these things to help give back to other people, which if you've been listening to the podcast, you know that that's kind of my jam. But if you haven't, that is my jam. Like I just am trying to make the world a better place and give people access to the tools that can help them create lives that they love. And so moving forward, just continuing to ask a lot of questions and do a lot of research and being very open, almost childlike in my research and my thinking about what can be possible, what is. And I'm really excited because in these new spaces, I think that when you when you aren't researched on something, when you don't know, you kind of walk through walls that you don't know are there. And so it's cool to have that perspective, but I also have people to like reel me in and be like, nah, fam, that's not a thing. Or actually, that's a good idea. I've never thought about that. And so having both perspectives. So I see a lot of ideation, a lot of teamwork, a lot of collaboration and innovation to help solve these new, I won't call them problems, but issues and things as they arise. So that's kind of how I foresee this year. What about for you? Because I know you're working on some cool new stuff too.
Yeah, the second half of the year for me is going to be more about showing the fruits of a lot of the work that we've been doing in the last 6 to 8 months, I would say, because we've really been building up a lot of stuff, I guess I'll say, for trying to stay broad and vague. But we've been building up a lot and developing on the back end so that we are ready to like really kind of relaunch and like with a whole lot of new things, from new angles. And in a new space to where, you know, we want to work with a particular type of client and do particular type of services, et cetera. And so now it's going to be kind of more so, all right, this whole time we've done the work ourselves and now let's do this same work with other people. And so continuing to snowball it, like using all of these experiences to now do them at continuously bigger and bigger stages. And continuing to build more relationships. Such a collaborative effort.
Absolutely.
Success, period. And so, like, it's really all based on relationships. For me, I would say that, you know, relationships are the key to success outside of even more so than my own skills or my own anything. Like, because it's all dependent on the team and on the folks who see what you do, want to work with you, and want to support you, et cetera. And so, I don't know, I'm looking forward to just doing more for other people / with other people that looks like the fun and the things that we're doing with ourselves right now.
Yeah, I love that so much. And I would challenge y'all to think about, you know, where you are and how you can continue to build your team and your network, continue to thinking about like what you can learn, but also just putting yourself out there, because I was a little nervous about like reaching out to people like, oh man, I've never done anything in this space. What are they going to think? But like, the reception was so beautiful because they respect what I do in my space and I respect what they do in their space. And it's like, cool, how can we collaborate? How can we grow? How can we support each other in this endeavor? Like a lot of times that's just building networks and building those things.
Yeah, let me ask you something. Do you feel like the new territories you've started to move into came from a space of like, oh man, like, so I need to do something, so I'm going to do this? Or was it more so like, I kind of always wanted to do that, and now it's like an opportunity to do it? Does that make sense? Like,
yeah. I think it's a mix of both. It was something I've thought about, but I was like, that's not who I am. Like, I don't do shit like that. But then all of a sudden it presented itself, and I'm like, oh man, that is something I've low-key always wanted to do, but just never.
I do got some bills to pay. You know I could sweep floors.
You know what I'm saying? But not just like.
It'd be like that though.
Not just paying bills, but even like, you know, creative directing things. And then, you know, Pete corrected me. He was like, nah, dog, you would be executive producer on that. And I'm like, oh shit, I've never thought about that. I never even thought that was something in my vocabulary for myself. And so I think it also requires us, first of all, removing your ego from things, because being able to understand that you don't understand everything and don't know everything is a lot of ego. But then also opening yourself up to possibilities of a limited mindset. Like your mind is like, no, you're not a creative. You're not these things. And so for me to be able to be in these spaces, being a creative and operating as such is really cool for me to see. And so I think it's like, I'm just like excited and over the moon, because it's things I never even imagined myself doing. Like I've thought of other people, I'm like, oh, they're super creative. Of course they do those things. And now it's like a thing that I'm working on. And I'm like, oh shit. Okay.
That's good. Hit us up, guys, on Carlie's Couch, Lextopia, Carlie Carpio, CC Fierce. Let us know how your year's been going. Not with the regular, like, obviously it's been kind of shitty / oh, okay, I've been doing this or that, working at home, cool, we know. But let us know, you know, how have the goals, or, you know, where are you now as opposed to how the year started, where you thought, you know, oh, I'm going to do all this. You know, how far did you get? And what things happened, and can you take a moment to sit and be like, you know what, this changed or that changed, and that was good because what? You know, let us know how the pivots were beneficial to you, or what you've learned in the pivots of this year.
I love that. So definitely hit us up. Let us know. I want to hear that. But also our question of the week Lex, what is one goal that you have by the end of this year?
That I haven't done yet. Because I write it was 10 goals and now I only have six or 5 left. I only have 5 left.
Oh,
but they were through September. So
okay.
Trying to think of one that I still have is dang.
I'll talk while you thinking. Okay.
No, I know. I would say, but this is just like a bootleg, like a regular legit goal. Though is with my credit. So I want it to be a certain space in September, and so that I would say that's one of them. Mine are all like very much like measurable.
Yeah, I know my stuff hers is quantitative, my shit's qualitative. But I would say
saying stuff that you already do.
You're right. But
I want to be a kind soul. Like, okay. Already been done, bro. Like, let it go.
For this one, I want to pay off my other credit card by the end of the year.
That's good.
You know what I'm saying? I paid off one, got to pay off this other hoe, and then we good.
That's good.
So what are y'all's goals? Please hit us up. Carlie's Couch, Lextopia, CC Fierce, Carlie Carpio. Jesus.
Damn, she couldn't even say her own name.
On Twitter, because I also have 2 different names. But we would love to hear from you. Thanks for tuning in for our midweek checkup. Have a good day, y'all. Damn, Jesus. We out of here.
I'm just playing with her now, but definitely, this year's going by fast, man. Don't let the whole thing go and you be like, man, I didn't do nothing this year.
Keep going.
Yeah, man. In spite of. You got it.
You got this.
Bye.